All right, everybody, back at it again. Welcome to the Chimaev News Network. The Body Lock. Appreciate you guys for joining us. Today, we've got a three-man crew we have not had before. Joining us today is the one, the only Drake Riggs. Drake, how are you doing?
Oh man, I'm just happy to be here, dude. It's a good time, good time. Yeah, I'm happy to be
Yeah.
here.
Well, we're happy to have you. And, again, because we're the unofficial Chimaev News Network, we've got to talk about the fact that Damn Me and Maya is apparently out, and Chimaev has been offered Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, or so the rumors say. Thompson's looking for Leon Edwards, been calling him out. What do we make of this, guys? Let's start with you.
What do we make of it? Well, obviously, Hamzat is the hottest thing in the sport right now, right? Especially outside of champions. The fast track, the route is on for this guy, right? They want to get him to the top as quickly as they can. Why not strike while the iron remains hot? And at this rate, it's going to stay that way if he keeps performing how he's performing. And his first top guy is imminent. Obviously, whether it's one of these two, he has the main event next, so you think it's got to be somebody in the top 15, whoever's willing to accept that. As for Wonderboy and Edwards, Wonderboy appears to have no idea about that, which kind of, feeds into Dana's doubt against it, or was it more? It was more for the Edwards one. He was like, "Yeah, we kind of wanted to do the Wonderboy one, I guess, actually." But yeah, I'm down for either. And honestly, I think it's probably the best thing that could happen. This might sound weird. It's probably the best thing that could happen for Edwards right now because the poor guy just can't get a top 5 guy that he deserves, or his title shot, whatever. It's just not happening. But if you get him against someone like Hamzat, obviously the upside is more in Hamzat's favor because he gets that win. You could give him a title shot right after that. But Leon, he hasn't fought in a while now. He's on this winning streak. If he can derail that big of a hype train and get people to actually talk about him, because that seems to kind of be the problem among the fans, of course the media is talking about him and like, oh, we got to get him in here somehow. But if he can take out this maybe one of a kind type of hype train that we're seeing here, if he can derail that and get a win against him, no matter how it happens, that's huge at this moment in time, right? So obviously it doesn't really do anything for him, like in terms of if you're looking at it from a purist standpoint, and it just extends his winning streak essentially, right? But with everything that's surrounding, Chimaev, and Dana's calling him a one-of-a-kind guy, it would be a big deal, I think, in terms of exposure and getting people more interested in Leon Edwards when they should be interested, but he's just not getting the recognition he deserves.
Yeah, those are solid points there. Especially, Leon's been sitting on that win streak for a while now. Apparently was offered a title shot, but the pandemic happened, and so it was, a logistical nightmare. And then, we all know what happened from there. Now he's just been in the background as a forethought. Matt, what do you make of all this?
I think it's first off, the fact that they announced that he's going to have a main event is kind of a big thing, right? Because we've been talking about in previous, updates on him that they're going to strap the rocket to this guy, and apparently they've done this already. They're going to, for first guy to ever potentially double book, right? 2 fights in, and not only just double book, but go from an unranked to, I think, what was Maya number 7 at the time. So that's just crazy. And now they're just like, hey, we're going to put you in the main event. We're not going to announce who yet. So he's got that rocket and he's riding it right now. So I would love to see, any of these guys ranked at 170, man. The thing that I like it the most right now is that we also talked about previously that guys would be scared to fight him, right? Like they wouldn't want to take that chance to fight him. But we're seeing guys come at him on Twitter now, which is what I want to see, especially from guys with the numbers next to their name. Be like, I'm going to hold this spot down. Come and try to take it if you want. Neil Magny, for example, that would be a great fight for me because he's surging, and you put him in there against like a top prospect like that that's also surging. That would be a hell of a fight, and that would be a good test for a guy that's really good everywhere and really scrappy as well. Neil Magny is no easy out for anybody. So if you can go out there and prove yourself against a Neil Magny, yeah, it might be time for that top 5, or super short list for, number 1 contendership. So whichever way they decide to go, I'm down with. He's got the main event slot. The most interesting thing, though, is that of all these matchups, potential matchups, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Leon Edwards, all that stuff, they're all 170 guys. We're not hearing any potential 185. So are they sticking him to 170? Because in my opinion, I think he needs to pick a division and stick with it for now. You know, once he kind of climbs that ladder some more, then yeah, go up to 85 and try to run that division too. But I'm glad to see that we're kind of maybe getting a feel for where the UFC wants to place him for now.
Yeah, no, you bring up a great point in that he's fought at 170 and 185. He's fought more times at 185 in the UFC at this point, and you know it looks like they're at least with the potential matchups they've all been at 170, right? Whether it's Thompson, whether it was Maia, it was all 170 type matchups. I personally would love to see him at 185 instead of 170, just because I feel like 185 is a little top heavy. And now that Adesanya's run through everyone, right? Like that's a fast track I can get behind. Go ahead and fight Omari Akhmedov, who's number 10, or you know what? Give him Yoel Romero. Let's just go crazy with this thing. Really strap the rocket on him. Give him the old Romero test to get the title shot. And again, him leapfrogging people at 185 isn't huge news because Adesanya's already run through most people. I mean, at this point, there's Cannonier if he beats Whitaker, but if Whitaker beats him, then, you know, why not? So I like 185 for him instead of 170, but I'd like to see him in either place. I get why Thompson would, you know, not want to fight him because the upside is not there for Thompson at all. I mean, that's just pure risk. And the last time Thompson took a pure risky fight, he got knocked out by Anthony Pettis. So I feel like that's just, you know, not going to happen because I can't see Wonderboy accepting that risk. But with that in mind, you know, I think we are all in agreement that Chimaev is the hot thing. He's the biggest thing in MMA right now, which is crazy because I would not have expected that, you know, based on his rise. But who would you like to see, both of you? I'm going to ask you this. Who would you like to see him fight right now if you were the matchmaker? Where would you like to see him at? And I know Matt wants him to stay at 170. Drake, do you want him to go back and forth? Do you want him to take on, you know, double book him for Izzy and Kamaru? Why not? You know?
Give him back-to-back title shots. Yeah, let's do it. Why not?
Why not? In 10 days. That's the important part.
Yes.
Right.
Window. Man, who would I want him against? I don't know. That's a tough question because really he's such an anomaly that like there's all these good options of anybody in either top 15, right? When it comes to the divisions, yeah, I would probably prefer him at middleweight just because I feel like it needs some more freshness to it. Like there's still all these guys kind of log jamming at the top here. It's not as bad as it used to be, but you know, at welterweight, there's more options I think that we have yet to see for Kamaru and whatnot. So yeah, I would prefer him at middleweight in the grand scheme of things. But I'd be lying if I said I'm not super intrigued by that Wonderboy matchup just from a stylistic standpoint, right? Like seeing how he deals with one of the most unique strikers that you can deal with and somebody who's proven to flourish kind of against those fighters for the most part, right? So I think that's a really good challenge for him, especially after seeing him, you know, knock out Mearshart and, you know, show that he does have power in his hands. Can he catch Wonderboy that way? Only one way to find out. So from a stylistic standpoint, I think that one's awesome. I mean, this is just down the road, of course, but I love that Gilbert Burns matchup too. That's not happening anytime soon, I don't think, but that would be a really cool test for him as well. But yeah, ideally, I think middleweight would be a good choice. And I don't know who you give him. I mean, if you want to be kind of mean, you could do Weidman. I don't know. There's so many options, but I'll just stick with, yeah, I would say let's have him at middleweight too, if we were going to do that.
So I feel a little bit differently with the matchups. Not necessarily that I want him to be at 170, because anybody that knows me and my my track record and how I feel about weight cutting knows that I hate weight cutting, and it's the dumbest part of this sport. So naturally, I would love him to be at 185. There are, to your point, Drake, more intriguing stylistic matchups, I believe, at 170 right now. And you have a lot more guys that are still like in the mix, so to speak, for, you know, a title shot. Whereas middleweight, you have guys that yeah, Adesanya already wiped you out, and you've lost other big fights that you probably should have won if you still want to climb that ladder. So for me though, if it is at 185, I want to see the Vettori fight, mainly because I kind of predicted that one a long time ago. And also when they said that he was getting a main event, I believe it was within a 24-hour period, Marvin Vettori was on Twitter, hey, got something big, all cryptic like, so I don't know if that was ever in play or not, but for my sake and my prediction coming true, I'm holding to that at 185. But no, if it's at 170, since his recent call out on Twitter, man, I'm gonna go with the Neil Magny fight, because that's a guy who will fight literally anybody. He doesn't care. He's the ultimate I'll show up and fight type of guy, a la a Donald Cerrone. So I would like to see that. But yeah, if it's not Magny, sure, Stephen Thompson, super interesting for anybody. If you can go out there and shut down that style with your wrestling, I mean, Jesus, or just straight up knock him out like you did Gerald Mearshart. Yeah, it's hard to deny the guy. But also, I do like Pat's idea. Do the double title fight, but also do it like his first two fights in the UFC. Do the first one at 185, and the second one be 170 within the 10 days. So you got to cut the weight and then still get the win. Let's go all the way crazy.
I mean, it seems legit, right? I think it's the right call. For me, I think I'm gonna go. I like Vettori a lot, especially at middleweight. I've already said that I'd love to see him at middleweight just because you need people there. I also really love Derek Brunson. I mean, Brunson's coming back looking much better than he has, and he says he's renewed. He certainly. I didn't pick him to beat Shabazian, and he looked really good in that Shabazian fight. I wouldn't mind, really putting those two together and seeing where both of them lie. At welterweight, I like, just about anybody we've talked about. I like Magny a lot. I think that's a great fight. If Woodley didn't have a rib, I think that would be an interesting fight, although I don't know if I really want to see it or not. That could be an issue. But yeah, I think no matter who you put him against, it's just a matter of time before he fights Yoel Romero in 2 back-to-back fights against Yoel Romero 10 days apart. I think that's probably what they'll do. So that's my prediction, is double. He'll give him the Whitaker treatment, back-to-back title fights against Romero. And even though Izzy has the belt, just make him interim, because why not? That makes sense. So that's what I'm rolling with.
We could do the one night Chimaev tournament. Let's just do that gauntlet match, WWE style.
BMF belt. They can make a Khamzat belt.
There you go.
Yes. I like that. I like the triple booking. Of Masvidal for the BMF, then Usman just next night. Screw it. Do 2 events back to back, International Fight Week style, and then a week later have him go up fight Izzy. I think we've nailed it. Triple crown. Makes sense.
I'm with it, man. I'm with all of it. Let's embrace the madness.
Exactly.
Chimaev News Network.
Chimaev News Network. Thank you for tuning in to the Chimaev News Network.